Hi, everybody. It's Sean Jackson again here from Reltio with you today with another LinkedIn Live demo for you, a very exciting demo. It's in fact, we're going to be looking at the Reltio Connected Data Platform through the lens of B2B, and it's what we call Account 360. And joining us today is Kim Toomey, my colleague, who's a solutions consultant, who's going to take you through this exciting demo. So thanks again for joining us today. Before we get started, just two things I want to draw your attention to. First of all, in the actual LinkedIn post that you're seeing here on LinkedIn, we've put a link to a bespoke demo request that you can actually click on if you're interested in seeing a demo of the Reltio Connected Data Platform specific to your requirements and needs. So I'd highly recommend you go ahead and click on that if you're interested in seeing more information after this demo. And the other thing is that this is an interactive session. So if you want to get involved, post a comment, suggestion, question, or just give us a thumbs up, and please go ahead and do so in the chat panel. If you're watching us today from a desktop, that's going to be to your right. And if you're watching us today from a mobile device, that's going to be in the window at the bottom of your screen. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to Kim. Take it away.
Great. Thank you, Sean. And thanks everybody for joining this morning. As Sean mentioned, I am a solutions consultant with Reltio. And today we're going to give you a little bit of a look at Reltio Connected Customer Data Platform. And as Sean mentioned, through the lens of our B2B customers. To start, let's take you through just a little bit of how we view the anatomy of a modern data management architecture. So first and foremost, Reltio is a native cloud solution. And we are also multi-tenant, so we're hosted in multiple cloud providers. And what this really gets you is the ability to host your key data in a MDM solution that is built both for operational and analytical use cases. So to take you a little bit through our technologies, first and foremost, we're built on a NoSQL database. So you're able to manage any subject area with deep attribution within the Reltio platform. We're looking at mastering not just person entities, but things like accounts and contacts and different potential product or location entity types. Whatever your business requires, Reltio can manage that data in a really robust and flexible way. We also leverage graph technologies that allow you to leverage deep relationships between your entity types within MDM. So within the solution that we'll take a look at a little bit here, you're going to see how we can link multiple entity types, build hierarchies, and search across all of those really deep relationships in near real time. And through that, we have really Google-like search, querying, and indexing of all of the data that you put in your MDM solution. So whether you're searching for specific attribute types or a specific value, Reltio can return those results to you in near real time. Now, all of our data is, of course, more powerful when you connect it to your other operational systems. So we have things like built-in analytical connectors to share your master data into tools like Google BigQuery, Snowflake, or Apache Spark, where you can do additional analytical use cases, reporting, machine learning on really clean, mastered, accurate data. Moving along, we also include things like out-of-the-box workflows that you can leverage on day one or have the ability to extend to meet all of your business and data governance requirements. And lastly, everything that you see within the Reltio UI is also accessible via APIs. Reltio is built on a REST API framework, and it allows you to programmatically manage not just your tenant, but all of the data in your tenant, and whether that be ingesting data or sending data back out of Reltio, all of that can be done through a really modern architecture and leverage some best of breed technologies. So what does this all really get you? Being a cloud native solution, that means we're going to be able to provide you things like disruption-free upgrades multiple times per year so that you're never without the key data to your business when you need it. As a cloud solution, you're going to have a total cost of ownership that's lower than you might expect to see with a hosted or on-premise solution, including just some of the people resources that you need to manage that solution. And everyone's going to be running on the same version. You never have to worry about massive solution upgrades over the years because Reltio handles all of that for you. So you know that you're always running the latest and greatest version of your MDM technologies, and getting a constantly evolving and progressing solution when you choose Reltio. Next slide I want to look at is a sample integration architecture. So when you think about a MDM solution, and specifically Reltio, we really like to consider MDM as the central hub to a lot of your data projects and data infrastructure. And again, as an API-first environment, Reltio is able to seamlessly connect to different integration systems, whether that be Kafka or a MuleSoft, to streamline your architecture and how you're moving data from one system to the other. So in this particular slide, you'll see examples of different source systems here on the left side that can all natively be integrated in Reltio through the use of those integration layers or direct connectors in the examples of things like Salesforce, which are very key in the B2B world of managing your CRM and your existing customers. So we have strong partnerships there that are going to allow you to seamlessly share and master your data in Reltio and then pass the best versions of truth into your Salesforce environment, for example. Now with Reltio, mastering that data, you're going to get all of the great MDM resources that you expect in things like cleansing, matching, and merging records together, and the ability to then create a distinct version of the truth for those individual records within your business organization. We're going to take a look at how Reltio handles things like survivorship a little bit differently than others in the MDM space, and that might allow you to do different things with your data based on which organizations you're supporting, and we'll take a look at that in the product as well. Now, Reltio, of course, also allows you to get all of that data out, not just through those point solutions or APIs, but through a out-of-the-box exporter as well. So if you need to just do batch exports, Reltio is fully compliant in storing and exporting data both in batch and real time. And of course, all of this falls under a highly secure environment. So if you are a business that has requirements that are more stringent when it comes to data governance and regulations and compliance, know that Reltio can offer HIPAA compliant tenant instances, and we're a SOC 2 certified provider of MDM cloud software. So know that your trusted data is safe in the hands of a solution like Reltio. With that, I'm going to turn it over actually to our product and give you a little bit of a look at Reltio and a day in the life. So Reltio as a cloud SaaS solution is accessed just through any modern web browser. What I'm going to show you today, I'm logged in here through Chrome, and just know that when you grant your teams access, you have the ability to create really granular roles and permissions for your users so that your employee base is accessing only the data that they should have permissions to. For the point of our demo today, I have pretty robust admin access, so you'll get kind of the full meal deal in terms of what I can do within our tenant here today. So I'm looking here at an organization entity record, and this is a fully mastered record where I'm seeing attributes that have come in from multiple different source systems and have been aggregated to create this best version of the truth for this particular record. You'll see here within our UI all kinds of different attributes that have come into the system. They've gone through that cleanse process. And then you'll see even some additional insights about maybe additional matches and entity records that should also be combined into this record. And we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. But some key things to point out here is a D&B hierarchy. So we also offer connectors to tools and third-party enrichment like Dun & Bradstreet. That's going to allow you to pull in these rich hierarchies and not just pull in those hierarchies, but actually create new entity types that allow you to even pivot. If I hover over each of these blue fields for these other entity records, and with a simple click, I can move over to this next record and get whatever additional information for another reseller that I might need. Now, you'll see here some of our out-of-the-box workflows in play. So by default, we offer 3 out-of-the-box workflows when you get started with Reltio. And those are potential match reviews, a delete request, and data change requests. So you'll see in this kind of red box here that there's a DCR review available where somebody else on my team has requested that a change be made to this entity record and assigned it to somebody else on my team. But within this screen and looking through workflows, I can easily change and collaborate with my team should I need to make this change myself, so that I can, again, perform those data steward activities as expected. And now, with simple clicks, I can stay in this screen, see the actual change that's being requested. And now, because this task has been assigned to me, I have the ability to comment with my team. You know, again, maybe we're all newly distributed workforces and we're looking for some ways to collaborate across teams in real time within this tool. I can quickly say, I am approving this change as a comment, and in real time, approve these changes, which are now going to be populated on this record. You'll see my new contact added into this field here. And again, because we're a real-time system, all of this is not just populated within the UI, but would be populated into any potential downstream systems that are reading off of these kinds of events as well. You'll also see here on the far right-hand side, our history or activity log. So every change or update to a record that occurs within Reltio is tracked and kept in this audit log. So you'll see here, I just made this change in real time and that's now part of my history. But you can even go back to really the start of your history log for any particular entity record and see those historic slices and things that have changed. All of that is also fully exportable. I'm going to move into a new kind of view of this activity log here. So any changes, again, I can completely filter my searches on search by either users or what particular activity changed, whether I'm looking at merges, updates, etc. So all of these, you have the ability to filter down to very specific actions, search, and then export those changes as well. So with that, I'm going to hop back over to our primary record here for Caterpillar. Actually, I'll show you here our search screen. And again, this is going to allow you, if I clear out all of my filters, to quickly and easily search across any entity type that you have imported into Reltio. So if I come up here, you'll see a search bar. I was looking for my Caterpillar record. And when I search, know that it's not just looking at the specific entity types or the values and the attributes, but across any of the relationships that you've established as well. So you'll see here even some employees that are starting to return results based on what I have typed into my search query so far. And if I were to click through on those, we would most likely see that this employee record has a relationship to my Caterpillar record that I was originally looking for. So those robust search capabilities really go not just across the entity types, but across all of the different relationships that you're managing within Reltio as well. So I go back, I'm actually going to look at this tag value. So in terms of collaboration, here's another way that Reltio can quickly and easily collaborate by creating little micro lists or tags. And we often use a tag of IR in our demo accounts to indicate an interesting record. So I'm going to pull up my cat record here that we were initially looking at. And a key component that I wanted to touch on today is this sources view. Now, I mentioned that when we were looking at our profile view for this record, it was a collection of attributes and values that have been persisted across multiple different data sources. Many companies are facing that challenge today where you have data siloed across all your different source systems and are trying to get that golden record view for your organization. And this is it, a little bit behind the scenes, and it's very colorful. So what I'm showing you here today is our concept of crosswalks. Now, if you're coming from the relational database world, think of these as your primary keys for an individual record in those databases. And you'll see all of my different original source systems here. And if I expand on these little carrots, you're going to see, again, those source system names and my ID value, or that original identifier from that source. Now, because I've highlighted this, you'll see in this screen here, all of the actual values for the attribute that were populated from my ERP system here. Now, what you have the ability to do within Reltio and in this particular screen is define your survivorship for each of these attributes at the entity level. So in my rule type column, what I'm seeing is the ability to, like, click on these drop downs, select at a per attribute level how I want my surviving value to be selected. In this particular example of my name field, we have source system selected. But maybe for another example, I wanted either the most recent value that I've seen for that attribute or the value that I've seen most frequently. Now with source system, think of this as a trusted ranking of all your different source systems. And don't actually need to change that, but if I click on this gear, I can now quickly drag and drop my different source systems into this hierarchy that is going to respect all of the different inputs from my source systems and change what we call our applied operational values based on what I've selected as my rule type for survivorship. Now, again, all of these are going to change on the fly. So let's say I really want my Salesforce instance to be my most trusted source system. We're going to grab Salesforce and bring this up to the top instead and hit OK. And as this refreshes, again, you'll see Salesforce in here. Or let's even find a better example and change our rule type here to what we've seen most recently instead of our source system. So this is going to change that operational value on the fly. And now we have Salesforce as our winning source system based on this rule. And my operational value here has changed. So when companies talk about creating these golden records, one of the challenges that we frequently see is the ability for teams to agree on what that golden standard needs to be across your entire organization. Oftentimes we see that your sales and marketing teams might have a different need for data to persist within a record than finance or customer support would. And so we can support that as well by the ability to change these different rule types at a rule set level. So if I have different definitions for all of my attributes and what should be the winning value for sales versus my compliance team, I can quickly toggle back and forth between these two different rule sets. And it's going to change my actual values here. Look at this to populate. And now I'm looking at my compliance version of the truth. Now, keep in mind, this isn't just available in the UI, but when you export your entity records or your profile records, you can do that through the lens of these rule sets. So if you're sending data off to an analytical system, for example, you might have a different definition of the source of truth than you do when you're exporting data back into Salesforce for your sales team, for example. So the way that Reltio has been architected really enables you to achieve these different versions of the truth on the fly in real time to your downstream systems without needing to go through a lot of overhead or rewrite database tables, for example. And this is a really powerful component that we've found benefits a lot of our customers. Moving on and moving back up to the primary view of our profile, we've talked a little bit about relationships and hierarchies, which are viewed in some of these facets here in our UI. So we have not just our Dun and Bradstreet hierarchy, but maybe a global account team hierarchy that we want to be managing as well. And again, all of these you could potentially pivot over into those employee records, or you can see different views of those relationships through the lens by toggling into these different views here on the left. So in this particular relationship view, I can quickly and easily see all of the relationships tied into this organization record, what those directional labels are. And then of course, should I want to drill down into maybe one of this reseller records, a subsidiary of my primary parent organization, again, I can quickly and easily get there as well. So moving on a little bit into some of the things that you'll see within the Reltio environment. We also include, of course, a dashboard, and this is going to show you all of the great activity that's happening within your Reltio tenant. So think of this as really kind of your operational dashboard in terms of things that are changing, records that have been updated, and a little bit about how those records are distributed within kind of a world view. So in this first screen, I'm really looking at what things have changed when it comes to my profile stats over any particular date range. Let's say I want to extend this out from the last 30 days, and you can see any new records, updated records, matched and merged records, anything that's really happened in terms of updates. Now you'll see here on the right-hand side, some of my workflow tasks again. So if I'm a data steward coming into Reltio in the morning, maybe this is kind of my task list for the day of things that I need to do. I need to go through some match reviews, and I want to look at some of these potential records and decide and determine whether they are matches or not. So when you're thinking about how you want to handle matching and merging of different entities, entity records within your MDM platform, know that you have the ability to set match rules at both a automatic merge level and a suspect for merge level as well. So if you have match rules that are very specific and maybe persistent identifiers that are strong across different systems that you want to automatically merge, Reltio will of course handle that for you. But if you're looking for a little bit more kind of manual or human intervention to really build out these robust profiles, this is where you can maybe loosen some of those match rules, rely on things like fuzzy matches in different attribute fields to pull in some of these different records. So within here, I can see exactly which of my match rules triggered the one entity type to match to this primary one. And let's say I want to really look at these kind of side by side to evaluate where their differences are and whether or not these should be merged together. Again, I can look at those rules and I can say it was an exact match by this entity URI, which is one of our primary identifiers for these two records. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and say that these two records should be merged. And again, I'm going to do that on the fly. So where I had two different entities living in my MDM solution before, they are now going to be added into my primary record here. And if I go back into my sources view, you can see, again, this one looks a little bit different than the first one, but let's say this was a record that we didn't actually want to have merged, even though we did that on the fly. I can also unmerge them here on the fly. So let's say we're going to unmerge this. We're going to get confirmation on this screen that I don't actually want this particular entity record to be tied to my primary one. And I get this notification that it has been unmerged. And I actually opened this into a new tab so that we can see that my unmerged record actually becomes its own separate entity record again, that still lives in Reltio, that will continue to update with any of the attributes for this particular entity ID. So all of the data always persists within Reltio, and it's just how you manage that data across the different source systems and whether they should be kind of aggregated into one view or left separate. All right, so moving on, we talked a little bit about search, but again, as you move through here, you have the ability to search on any of your attributes. Let's go ahead and pull up an employee record, and we'll open up this one. And a few other things that we want to show today are the abilities. We've been in viewing mode, but again, through those workflows, you also have the ability directly within Reltio to either suggest edits or edit or override those profiles directly. So in this particular record, let's say, we're showing our full name for this employee is Daniel Gage, first name Danny, but I'm just going to actually update this to Daniel here. And I'm going to add a employee tag as well. And I can just do all of this right as I go, save this record. And now all of my new values have been stored on this profile in real time. And again, if I have downstream systems connected to this particular tool, those will all potentially receive those updates in kind of a streaming queue format. So if you are familiar with tools like Google PubSub, for example, all of those event changes are going to populate into those types of tools as well. And with that, that's really what we wanted to kind of show you today in terms of a little bit about how the Reltio MDM solution works. I'm going to hand this back over to Sean to wrap up this morning.
Thanks so much, Kim. That's very, very informative demo there. And I hope everyone who's watched today has at least seen the power and the simplicity in some respects of Reltio and how we do what we do with regards to MDM. And certainly looking at the connected data platform through the lens of B2B customers. We just had one question, Kim, that came in on the LinkedIn feed here. And if you want, I'll just read it out to you. It was, Let me just look it up. Can we see the dashboard of overall tasks and responsibilities so that decision-making is done at the right time?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just pull that up really quickly because it's in a slightly different view. Because under the hood, we've been in kind of our hub view, but console is really where you're going to manage all of your tenant configuration, and some of those workflow things. So there is actually a inbox, and actually right here. And this is that view. Of course, let me log in, where you would see all of those tasks. So here's mine, but if we wanted to see an entire team, that's available here on this screen as well.
Excellent. Okay, good stuff. Alrighty, everybody. Again, Kim, big thanks to you for taking the time today to show the demo and show your experience of Reltio with everybody as well, and showing everybody the power of Reltio. If you just move back to the slide deck for me, there was just one slide I want to leave people with today. There we go. If you just go back to the slide before that as well.
Oh, sure.
There we go. Perfect. I just wanted again to draw everyone's attention to the fact that in the actual LinkedIn post, which I believe is actually above the video that you're seeing me on today. So if I just sort of point upwards here, you'll see in the text, you'll see this reltio.com request a demo URL in there. It's actually come across as a LinkedIn URL, but if you go ahead and click on that, you'll get taken to a form where you can effectively request a bespoke demo of the Reltio Connected Data Platform, and be more than welcome to give you that demo. So that's it for today, everybody. Thanks so much for your time. We'll catch you next time on LinkedIn Live. Obviously, until then, as you see here on the screen, we have got a plethora of ways you can interact with Reltio. Obviously, you can look at our website, you can go and look at our telephone, you can phone us, of course. I know it's pretty old school, everyone's kind of online and digital these days, but we still have phone numbers that people contact us on. And don't forget to follow us on social media. Clearly, you're watching us today on LinkedIn, but we are across other social media channels as well. So with that, we'll catch you next time on LinkedIn Live. And until then, take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Thank you.